Whoops, cut myself off there. Because yesterday, the symbolism was just building like crazy. And every time I heard the word now yesterday, I was looking at something green with a shadow. When I was driving to work, listening to NPR, Vermont Public Radio, and then at work I was listening to Terry Goodkind's Heart of Black Ice, a book I wouldn't recommend unless you've listened to all his books sequentially, which is an accomplishment as far as man hours. But every time I heard the word now, and I wasn't really working with anybody yesterday, I was working by myself, so except for when this dude I work with dropped off my paycheck, but every time I heard the word now, there was something green with a dark shadow. Looking at trees with a shadow, and I was scraping this trellis that was is Essex green, pretty famous Benmore paint color, especially all over. And and some of it, like I'm looking at it, scraping it, and it's dirty, and it's a certain shape, and it's light and dark with the light shining on it in just the right way. And I hear the word now, and it just kept sticking. I'm looking at trees with shadows, now. I'm looking at grass with a black rock on it, now. And it was probably 15 times during the day, and it just stuck. That was what stuck yesterday. And then I woke up this morning, and I was thinking about the dude who dropped off my paycheck, and he asked me if I wanted any strawberry rhubarb pie, which I love. But I was like, no, I really can't, because I used to cheat sometimes on butter and dairy, but I don't anymore. After my Sario Greco thing that came up to St. Agnes, after that I just can't. But he was and I was like, I can because there's butter in it. And then he said, oh, well, you could get this milk or that milk, or there's that ad now about happy cows. So that was what I was thinking of when I looked down at my carpet. To that. That's what I was thinking about when I looked down and saw that, and I heard all those nows collapse into my mind. Now. And exactly what I was thinking at that moment, which is what I said to him when he said about the happy cows. I said, yeah, that's all great, but every glass of milk starts with an act of rape. Like, every glass of milk starts with an act of rape. We rape these animals, make them have babies, so that we can have their milk. So, yeah, we're not killing them, but we're raping them and taking their baby food. So, and that's not saying anything bad against farmers or this or that or whatever. Some of the vegan, vegetarian old masters are farmers, because they know you're going to do it anyway. So they try to make it as painless as possible, and they're trying to get us there, and you'll see a little more what I mean. But yeah, it said now, so I had to mention that. I didn't plan on making a video right now. I was gonna pick up where I left off yesterday, talking about Raphael, but 15, 20 times of now collapsing into one moment. And that's how the subconscious tunes. That's how the subconscious looks into the future, or the superconscious. We always call it the subconscious, but the subconscious is part of the unconscious, which is the sub and the superconscious. That's one way of looking at it. And the superconscious travels through time. Tachyons! You might have a bad day when you're 10 years old. You could be 50 years old today, and you could have had a bad day when you were 10 because of something you do today. That's how fucked up existence is. People talk about time travel, all that kind of thing, and all the sci-fi stuff and everything we're capable of. All you got to do is start looking into DARPA, The CIA only several years ago released a technique they stopped using in 1910, which was writing secret messages they'd send a message, but on the message they'd write in a little bit of egg yolk or milk or lemon juice, I forget, some simple mixture. With a toothpick you could write a message that only showed up through light when you heated it up. They stopped using that method back in 1910, and God only knows how prevalent it was before that and how long back in time it goes before that. But they declassified it 100 years later, right? They're very protective of their information, and we all know that they're way beyond that, right? Well, DARPA, years ago releases a video of a remote control hummingbird. So they're already saying they have remote control hummingbirds. They have them, and that's what they're telling us they have. What do they really have? And who are they? And who are the theys of they? Who's the they behind every they? But it's important we all get to it. It's important we all get to it. Because you can theorize, and it's great to theorize as an exercise, but all that theorizing, all that knowledge, at some point has to collapse upon the moral of the story. So, Harriet Tubman, man. Harriet Tubman. After watching this movie, that's what the red and blue mean to me, The red and the blue, the red and the blue. The red and the blue, the light blue, the sky blue, not just the dark blue, so it's not just like Mars and Venus or electromagnetism, it's red, Martian. The red hat, the red hood, over the light blue, Mars in the sky. It's also kind of a reference to Sirius and the blue dog and how 2,000 years ago it was red and now it's blue because Sirius used to be moving away from us and now it's moving toward us. It's the whole red shift, blue shift thing. The dog scar, the doggone. Oops, we'll get to that. Harriet Tubman, who in this movie anyway, she didn't kill people who were trying to kill her. She just scared the shit out of them. And that's what masters do if they have to. Alright. So, what's that got to do with Raphael? Well, let's get there. Let's get there. So, I'm just waiting for this to start up. It takes a minute because it's old. This is what I do all my work on. Photo impression 4, little shareware. Alright, so we're back to this image, and what I got cut off about with yesterday was how this image here Looks like a face with an African nose. With an eye exposed, another eye beneath a patch, like a pirate head. How that image reminded me quite a bit of One-Eyed Willie with the gold spread at the bottom. And then I might say it's a little bit of stretch making this image a face, but crop it. Crop it. Blow it up. If we isolate it, it's a little bit more obvious that that symbolically looks like a face. Maybe we can bring out some of the features a little better. Turning down the saturation. Let's see. Okay, so that's not bad. So, to my mind, that, you know, that looks like a bearded face with an African nose, slightly off center, with Jesus' leg going diagonally across the nose, which also could be a reference to Plotinus. But I'm saying it's a reference to Black Aesop. And now, this area here is where the eye appears to be. But it's very, very off center. Or it's too steep. It's too steep of an eye. However, it's also a reference in that sense to like an animal. Also a reference to like a lamb. But notice this baby in the picture. But it doesn't look like a lot of the other angels. It's got its eyes closed, its hair's a little bit different. It looks more like a baby. Its wing looks more like it's resting its head on like a pillow or something. It looks like a sleeping baby. Not the other babies and angels in this picture don't. This one looks like a sleeping baby, which would be laying down flat. So, if we adjust the baby so it's laying down flat, adjust the baby so the baby's laying down flat. Then what do we have? Then its faceness becomes pretty obvious. But he couldn't make it that obvious, because then that symbol would have been broken. Too soon.
No, neither did I. I was just asking. Okay, keep looking up. Okay.
So, yeah, I think that's a pretty, I don't know, I mean, there it is, you know, there it is. And it's clearly an African face in the prominent place of Jesus. Okay. And how this image relates back to, this is going to take a minute, but relates back to the famous philosopher's painting the famous School of Athens painting by Raphael. In the same room, there's four 4 major paintings in the room, and 2 of them are like bigger than the others. So in the 2 major paintings in like that room, one of the most famous, it's like it's right down the hall or whatever from the Sistine Chapel. But anyway, when you mirror this image, which already, like, notice how the top, when you mirror it, looks the same, except for the clouds, but like it's all mirrored. So this picture is meant to be mirrored, and they were obsessed, you know, they were obsessed with mirrors and reflections and optics and all that, you know. And Raphael weren't just some like really great artist, man. He was, I mean, he weren't just some young dude. The story of Raphael ain't, you know, no young dude does this shit. I don't give a fuck who you are. You might look young, but you ain't young. And again, we have these other ghastly animal-like skulls that appear only once you overlap the 2, and they look quite a bit like the Hieronymus Bosch skulls in the Garden of Earthly Delights or whatever. But how this central image looks like a skull right next to Heraclitus with a triangle right in the middle, a nose, 2 eye sockets. So let's see if we can isolate those, just kind of slam that home. Try to slam that home. Everything's related, so. Alright. Well, let's see. First we will take away the color. First we'll take away the color. And then we'll tones down. Let's take a little more. Dial it down a little more. Yeah, now both these things become a bit more obvious. So let's see. Arg. Okay. And this is the type of thing that they would have had to do back then. Uses lenses and different candles and, you know, different types of light and different filters and so on. Different colored filters, you know, optically. That's if we believe they didn't have computers back then in the underground bunkers of back then. Worth thinking about. Okay, so we got that one. Now, we'll go back to that. Back to that. And turn everything else off. Pull these up. So yeah, that kind of looks I mean, that looks like a skull to me, like an animal skull, and it kind of looks like the one from Hieronymus Bosch, one of his paintings. And this also looks like a simplistic skull. You know, in a painting that's basically saying mirror me at the dead center, right between the overlap of the two foreground central figures who we always think it's Aristotle and Plato, but it's really Heraclitus and Diogenes. Diogenes after he's put down his lamp, after he stopped looking for a wise man who always carried a lamp even in the day, because he was looking for a wise man. But he doesn't have a lamp here. He found something. He put down his lamp and he picked up a page. The moral of the story. So anyway, so then we get a skull in here, which is related to this, the other main picture in the room. Face. Oops. And then when we readjust the eye, there we have it. A face. Pretty much clear as day. And when I say Black Aesop, I'll try to get this up while we get back to this. Now, there's a lot more to say about all that between yesterday and today, but I gotta get moving. I gotta get on with what I'm trying to get to. And this painting I just found yesterday. Which is another one of Raphael's paintings. Which is in a different room but related. It has some names, stanza, something. There's like, I think 16 paintings. Plus like the whole rooms, the ceilings. That Raphael's studio was, you know, commissioned by Pope Julius II to do. And actually that would be a good, I'll try to look that up, but Pope Julius II, his you know, quote unquote official or most famous portrait, he's very meek looking, very tender looking, sad looking man. Which if you're like a papacy hater, and you can't be blamed if you are, in a lot of ways you should be, but if you're a papacy hater, you overlook the fact that he's a gentle man with a burden. You know, in my mind, you know, what he is or represents to me and might actually be is an many 100-year-old Eastern master assuming the role of a white pope in order to finance these symbols that he knew would persist through time, so that the story that is thousands of years old, the railroad beneath the railroad beneath the railroad, how far back in time does the Underground Railroad really go? How far back in time? What is its mission? What is its cause? Where is it going? So, you know, what am I saying? I'm saying Pope Julius II is still around. And he was a lot more than a pope. And he wasn't a pope. He assumed the role to get shit done. Yeah, I said it. Crazy motherfucker. Still around? What's wrong with you? So now when we look at this, it was like the fire at Borgo. It has something to do with some miracle some pope did in 1417. That's as far as I got looking at it on Wikipedia before I had to make my little video yesterday, you know. So I'm not exactly sure like of all of it, but sometimes the symbolism is just so slamming that you don't even need to get there. So here in the middle of this whole Pope deal, this papacy, all these paintings, white people, white people, white people, white people. What do we got? What's the moral of this story? What stands out? What's different? Here you got all these people fighting. You got people in the background praying up to statues and icons, and people running. Now is that a child, or is that a dwarf or a leprechaun? Is that a little person? But you have all these things, oh this, oh that, all crying up, and who's doing the real work? You got this naked guy. Oh, he's carrying an old guy out. He's saving an old guy. Got a little Santa Claus hat on there before there was Santa Claus. But then you got this naked guy who really draws your attention. Oh, what's going on with him? But then what's the best thing about this entire image that doesn't stand out when you first look at it? When you first look at it, you see the fire, you see all these people, all this drama, but what's really happening? All these white dudes, and then what do you got? You got this guy, he's trying to escape, but what's the woman doing? The woman's saving a baby. And to my mind, that looks like a dark-skinned child to me. I'm just saying. That's what it looks like to me. Lifting a dark-skinned child down to a dark man, or a dark-skinned man. Oh, it could just be a white person in shadow, this or that, whatever. But the lights and darks of these two images are similar. But notice there's something strikingly different about the pigmentation of the skin. This looks like a dark-skinned man. Look at these other children and how they're depicted and painted. But just that subtle difference, what's happening here? A dark-skinned child saving the child, much like the Underground Railroad. The red hat and the blue garb, sky blue. Did they know then what would happen now? Did they know then what would happen now? But it's not just about, it's about saving everybody and everything. And that's what reaches way back, because this is several hundred years ago, but that's not where the story starts. That's not where the story starts. I don't know where it starts. It starts in Kemet. It starts in Ethiopia. I don't know, it starts with the Assyrians. It starts with the Hindu. Alright, let's see. Let's see. For your viewing pleasure.
I must have slipped. Wait. What do you do every time you see this one incredible woman? You think you're gonna hurt? I say her. If you blow chunks and she comes back, she's yours. If you
All right. Let's see if I can get it here. And so in that other image that I showed too yesterday, I showed how this image, let's see. let's see. Yeah, I showed how this image can be overlaid with like where the Mediterranean and Baltic Sea are here, are here, Iran's over here. If you mirror this image, then instead of Heraclitus looking this way, he's looking this way, down toward Egypt, and the pyramid. Diogenes, he's looking down to Ethiopia. I keep talking about, I call it Ethiopian Aesop, Black Aesop, but also Ethiopia and their mastery of the base system and the uniquely specific way that they and their elders did multiplication and math. Singularly unique. So I guess what I was saying about this, and then so about this picture, how it clearly lines up with a map, and then about this picture, where's that overlay? I'm gonna have more work to do on that, but I'm convinced. I'm not just convinced, I know, and I want to unlock it, and I want to help advance the story so that we can all unlock this ancient mystery that they gave us the clues for. And people talk about all that kind of stuff, and so we figure shit out, but we got to get to the moral. And one of the main morals of today, and by today I mean over the next 100 years, is that the world of people has to stop eating animals. And then I've given it in my other video on the building a case 001 video. Like I describe, I show, and through some of my other work, like how math, like when you do geometry the right way, it can actually show the structure of humans and animals and how they're related, and not by going backwards like we do when we look at like the famous Da Vinci drawings, but when you start with Archimedes spirals and just start overlapping them in sacred proportions that you don't even need to know what they are. You just start overlapping them and like shifting them around, and shit lines up, and you just keep clicking it and clicking it and clicking it and lining up, and you will get to human and animal forms that occupy the same picture. Alright, I'm trying to get to the image of the dude who to me represents kind of Black Aesop. Here we go.
John! For the railroad, Grandpa? I whack. But no man. Got a name, do you? I have no name.
He's got the red and the white.
There may be the reason you
Queen
had
Anne's lace
difficulty
reference.
finding gainful employment. You see, in the mart of competitive commerce,
You seek a great fortune. He who will now in chain. You will find a fortune. No, it will not be the fortune you seek. But first you must travel a long and difficult road. A road fraught with peril. You shall see things wonderful to tell. You shall see a cow on the roof of a cotton house. And oh, so many startlings. I cannot tell you how long this road shall be, but fear not the obstacles in your path. For fate has vouchsafed your reward. Though the road may wide, yea, your hearts grow weary, still shall ye follow them, even unto your salvation.
The tortoise. The tortoise.
No, the treasure's still there.
Steady as she goes.
But how?
The straight and narrow. What a nice place to accidentally have my internet connection be too slow. Trying to tell you something there. What's that face look like? What's that face look like? What's that face look like?
You know about the trade. No, Dylan.
All right.
Blind are revealed to possess serious structure to lack of sight, even to the point of developing fair.
Just keeps lining up. Keeps lining up. All right. So the red and the blue. The red and the blue. Yep, we got the Harriet Tubman. Papa Smurf. Who that look like? Talk about blue. Blue black. Who that look like? Who that look like? I'll get to that. I'll get to that. Get to that. We'll get to that. Then the gnomes. The most famous picture of a gnome is a blue gnome with a red hat. Noble. Gnosis. Gnome. Genome. Gnome. Genome. DNA. Gnostic. Gnosis. Knowledge. My people perish for lack of knowledge. I'm sure I'm paraphrasing. I always get it wrong, but you know what I'm saying. For lack of knowledge. Gnosis. Gnostic. Gnome. Genome. Noble. Gary Gnu. The Pygmies. The dwarfs. The midgets. The little people. The leprechauns. Never mind. Little enchanted squirrels and chipmunks. The Blue Man. How far back? How far back? How far back? How far back? How far back in time? Not a few hundred years ago. How far back in time? You ever seen Indian paintings where dudes were painted blue? Animal killers do not know that in the future, the animal will have a body suitable to kill them. That is the law of nature. And also notice we have the red and the white. A red dot on white. Queen Anne. Queen Anne's lace. The Bible. Where did the King James Bible really come from? It goes back. Where did the Harriet Tubman symbolism come from? It goes back. Where did Smurf, which it was originally a French cartoon, and it's related to the word shroomf, which is, I guess, the French name for mushroom. Which, once again, you'll have to look at yesterday's thing about the mushrooms and how that relates to Queen Anne's lace. Am I going to be able to find it? Oh, that was a cool image. I'm not sure if I got it. Skull in the background. All these skulls and bones. The pirate. One-eyed Willie. One-eyed Willie. Odin, who only had one eye. John Gardner on Moral Fiction. Like basically the first and last page. So I'm gonna try to pull up some other stuff here. I know there's a good part in here where Alice Cooper starts talking. It's worth checking out.
Thanks.
Shit, I'm out of smokes.
You know, for a security guard, he had an awful lot of information, don't you think?
How am I gonna do this? Shit.
Alice, is this cool? Yeah, come on in. Sorry to bother you, but we had to come and tell you how much we really enjoyed the show, didn't we, Garth? Oh, thanks. We're not mental or anything, so don't be afraid. My name is Wayne, and this is Garth. Nice to meet you. So, do you come to Milwaukee often? Well, I'm a resident here for a year, but Milwaukee has certainly had its share of visitors. The French missionaries and explorers were coming here as early as the late 1600s to trade with the Native Americans. In fact, isn't Milwaukee an Indian name? Yes, Pete, it is. Actually, it's pronounced Miliwake, which is Algonquin for the good land. I was not aware of that. I think one of the most interesting aspects of Milwaukee is the fact that it's the only major American city to have ever elected 3 socialist mayors. Does this guy know how to party or what? Huh? Huh? Okay. Well, we gotta get going. No. Stick around. Hang out with us. Cool. Yeah, we'll stay and hang around with you. With Alice Cooper. We're not worthy! We're not worthy! We're not worthy! We're scum! We're scum! The first big show, we almost didn't make it.
Alright.
I really hope Cassandra's watching.
So that's that. Yeah, the red and the blue.
Hi guys, how's it going?
Red and the blue. Hood. Milk. But they don't want us to drink milk. Hood. The hat. The hoodie.
What the hell is this? Can we find the sign, please?
But what are they really telling you about milk? It's poo. Milk. The milk of the word. The meat of the word. Milk. Milk.
I need to make some notes. Good luck. My guy.
Malcolm. Malk.
Your name is pronounced Alvin, right? Okay. Wait!
The cross.
Good. Stand by. In 5, 4, 3.
They know you're going to drink it anyway.
Brought to you by Noah's
But this is the
Ark.
symbol that comes out. As with this one. They call it meadow gold. But this is the meadow gold. This is literally where monatomic gold is found. Never mind all the processing this or that or whatever. Take some blueberries, soak them in water. Monatomic gold. Bear the cross.
Okay, welcome to Wayne.
Queen Anne's lace.
I guess. Okay.
Bear the cross.
Okay, first of all, we'd like to take a moment here on Wayne's World to
Bear the cross.
welcome our sponsor. He's the owner of a fine chain of
Bear the
Noah
cross.
arcades. Noah Vanderhoek. Nice name.
Berry, bear, beer. Bear the cross.
Mr. Vanderhoek.
Do the work.
Yes! I told you you fall in line. What is your most popular video game right now? Desert Storm.
The dove of peace. But you gotta dive into hell.
Have to do with that limited skirmish in the Middle East. Yes.
And there it will find you. There the dove of peace will find you. It will dive in after you.
At Noah's Arcade, we like to say, there's two of everything, so there's never one. Okay, now tell me, Noah, are those ones
But where did all this shit come from?
between Pac-Man and Ms. Pac-Man, really? Well, she has a bow in her hand. That's it?
Goes at least this far back. Looks like a face. Looks like a face.
Well, thank you for being on Wayne's World. It was informative and stimulating. Now a word from our sponsor. We're at commercial. Oh, that was...
When we ran out of toilet paper there, where there was the run on toilet paper in the beginning of COVID, I bought some of these because they're the only thing left. It says pocket tissue. As it turns out, they're more like party napkins, terrible for wiping your butt with, but I bought it right around the same time I made my Sorry El Greco video, wearing that outfit accidentally. And I got my little pocket tissues with my little dove of peace.
Yeah, you're fired.
Classic.
Fired for that? Shit, ready? That's it, I'm out of here. Now taking my show with me.
When I made my video, after one of the biggest moments of my life, recorded it there, when I found Agnes inside of me. There's a shadowy dove peeking through, which came about on accident, by the way, with this product. Though it was this jug over here, which is now dried up because I left the paintbrush in it because I was going to do a second coat and I never did. I only ever did the first coat so that the white primer underneath could show up and we could see the dove. With this product that I bought back in 2006, 2007, that's just been sitting on my shelf since then.
Well, we had some technical difficulties and we're still playing the format.
Things stack up, and that's the whole deal with, like, see, that's the thing too, the difference between like prophecy and synchronicity. But the real prophets, what are they? They're ones who have listened to their own sub, aka superconscious, speaking to them and have mastered it, such that they can see through time, and it stops being just symbolic. Peering through the veil, traveling through the veil, trying to save us, trying to get us out of this prison that we're in. And one of the biggest things in the world, like, this is the war. One of the biggest things, if not the biggest thing in the world, is that we eat animals. That is God's bad dream. Look at the Galapagos Islands. Think of what's possible if we were the stewards. Never mind, people talk about, oh, wouldn't it be an awful waste of space if there wasn't any other life in the universe? What about the Smurfs, right? Think about humans and how they came to be and where knowledge really came from in, like, Egypt, you know? Kemet. Seemingly from out of nowhere came this massive civilization. Never mind what happened 10,000, 12,000 years ago and what was around before that, before the Great Cataclysm, the Great Flood, all this kind of thing. But, you know, that's like Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock, all that kind of information. But what other intelligent life forms And people think intelligence has to do with the size of the brain. Not necessarily true. It has to do with the way the neural networks work throughout the whole body, the way the electromagnetic works through the whole body, and the way the ether informs that. Literally like the spiritual software in the hardware of our human form. Not this form, the form that matter washes over, that fills out the form.
Oh, well, I guess Benjamin will be there too.
But yeah, the war